Hi everyone, it's Maria. I just wanted to go over a few of the Zoom tools we will be using for the annual meeting this Sunday, January 31st. And so this is just a helpful overview of the different aspects of Zoom we'll be using for the meeting and how we'll be voting, which is actually via Google Forms. So when you get into your Zoom meeting, you can mute yourself by clicking on the mute button. It might be the case that everyone is muted when they start. I'm going to unmute myself so that you can hear. And then you can also, if you don't want to be on camera, you can stop your video and it will just display that blank screen and your name, which right now says example. So one of the first things we'll be doing in the annual meeting is trying to get the number of people who are attending, and since each household is logging in through one device, we need to know how many voting members of your household are attending the meeting on that device. So we will send out a poll, and when that happens, it will just come across your screen. So when the poll pops up on your screen, we're just going to ask that you answer the question, which is how many voting members of your household are attending the meeting on this device. You can ignore the AV option, that's for our in-house computer, so that we can make sure that everyone's accounted for in the poll, but not every computer is being used for voting. So if I want to answer this question of how many are attending the meeting on this device, for me it's just one. You click that and you hit submit. Another aspect that I want to go over for this meeting is the chat. So the way we'll be participating to make sure that everyone can be heard is through chatting. So if you have a technical question, we also recommend that you ask that to the chat. So you'll click on the chat button, that little box there, and it will pop up. And here under the to, it can be to everyone, and that's where you would submit comments or questions for the meeting. But if you have a specific technical question that you don't want to ask the whole group, you can do the drop-down arrow and click an option. For now, I'll click host. On the day of the annual meeting, we have Rob Huffman here to answer technical questions, so you would select him from the drop-down, and we will remind you of who the designated technical person is the morning of the meeting at the beginning of the meeting. So you can just type your question. When you type your question in the box, you just hit enter and it will submit it just to that person who could answer your question. If you would like to provide a comment or question to the conversation during the meeting, we'll actually ask that you raise your hand. And so you can find that under the reactions, raise hand. And then if you go to participants, you can see that the hand is raised. If you didn't mean to raise your hand or if you've changed your mind, you can also go to reactions and lower your hand. So if your hand is raised, what will happen then is you will be called on to type your comments in the chat, and then you can give that to everyone, and then you can just type your question or comment into the chat, and it will be read aloud by someone with a microphone so that everyone can hear the comment or question. And so that's how we will do that aspect of the annual meeting. And of course, we also need everyone to vote. We have a way of making sure that every voting individual of your household can vote. So what will happen is when it comes time for the vote, we will send a link to a Google form in the chat. So we will have a motion and a second, and then we will vote. And so then what will happen is in the chat is you will get a link sent out to you, and we will send out the link. Every vote will be a new link, so you will get a new link in the chat every time you vote. What you'll do is you'll click on the link to this Google form, and it will have a description, and it reminds you that every voting member of your household should vote. And it will say, do you approve the motion? And the form itself on that day will be the specific motion. This is just an example vote. So you will select your vote, and you will click submit. And it will bring you to this page, which will tell you that your response has been recorded. If you have an additional voting members in your household, which is a confirmed member of the church, you will pass the device on to that person, and they will click submit another response. It will bring them back to this page where they can submit their vote. Click submit, and it will once again tell you your response has been recorded, and you will pass the device around until every voting member of your household has voted. And then when you're done with that vote, you can close out so that you'll be prepared for the next vote with a new link. So that covers how to chat, how to ask a technical question to a specific person, how to raise your hand, and how to vote, as well as mute and turn off and on your camera. Thank you all, and hopefully this video was helpful to you, and we look forward to seeing you at the annual meeting on January 31st at 10:30.